Welcome back on this glorious and amazing day. In the third video of the second episode of how we deflect within communities. So last week we spoke about when the child is unhappy at home because he's treated like a machine that needs to perform amazing instead of the core connection from a parent to a child is not how they're performing, but versus how they are existing, and noticing your child's love, your child's soul, your child's being versus their test marks. And then the other child that gets constantly criticized. As human beings, we want to feel like we're having an impact. We want to feel good. We want to feel uplifted. I'm a child now. And I'm from the group that gets so much criticized by my parents. I feel like a nobody. Not only I feel like a nobody, I feel like a loser. I feel like I just don't belong. I just make problems all the time. And I get emotional because as I talk, I have hundreds of stories in the background just playing of so many people, so many children, so many adult children, even 40, 50 years later, that still feel the same and they believe that nonsense. So this might be subconscious, but I see a few troublemakers and they did something not nice. If it's making a fire, making fun of other kids, destroying property, they feel like they have accomplished something. This wall was beautifully painted, this house, this wall, this property. And we come when no one looks and we're going to spray paint it. It has an effect. We did something. People are going to come tomorrow and get upset. We had an impact. It's maybe a negative impact, but it's an impact. These individuals that are good in their soul, good at their core, but externally they're troublemakers, and I do admit they make trouble. They lift up this new member that comes into their gang, that comes into their group, and they high-five him, and they tell him how brave he is for breaking into the locker, or for being mischievous, or doing anything else. These kids could get in trouble by their principal, by their teacher at home, but they feel uplifted. They're accomplishing something. When they come home, they're just rebuked. When they come home, they're just treated like a machine. I'm a nobody. At least in this group, I'm a somebody. In my lifetime, I have never seen a child, and I've met with a lot of them, and hundreds of these children when they were adults, that they told me, you know what? My parents loved me. I had a connection with them. They were so happy to see me. I was truly a happy child, but I decided I want to mingle with the bad kids. It doesn't exist. It's always the exact same story. Like we're told, when you see smoke, you know there's a fire. Okay? When you see smoke, it doesn't mean it snowed. It means there's a fire. What type of fire, what substance is burning, we might not know. When a child goes and joins bad kids, it's not about controlling the child because we're deflecting and all these people are bad and they're ruining my child. It's perhaps, may I dare say, it was us that ruined the child. They have no place over here, so they must go over there. So what do? We try to control. So what do these kids go? They go somewhere else. They're going to find a way because they can't come here. You're controlling them by not going there because you're busy deflecting, because you have no clue that you are the one, not knowingly, not viciously, that caused them to go somewhere else. They're going to go to a third place. And it only goes from bad to worse. Because if a child needs an oxygen mask to breathe on, the oxygen mask that not only gives them oxygen, but gives them meaning, bad meaning, gives them attention. It tells them they belong, and you try to rip away those bad friends from them, which right now, that's a very unhealthy oxygen mask, they're going to find another one. Kids are smarter than parents. You could control them for an hour, for a day, for a month, but you can't control them. Actually, you could control them in the most beautiful way. If you take away the cause of this child doing something they really don't want to do by joining these troublemakers, you have control. So when I see my child hanging out with a bad group, I go, I need to do some soul searching, and we need to meet right away with a professional. And the professional might speak to your child. I'd rather they don't, because most professionals could actually do it through you. And they're going to ask you. It's very, very, very simple. They are going to ask you, like, how much of your relationship is with love and connection, so on and so forth. I'm about to sign off, but I'm reminded of this phenomenal story, so I'll squeeze it in, because I'm not going to make a separate video just for this story, because I'm ready to go on to the second example, which is even larger, which is mainstream. Everyone, the whole world is talking about the second one. The story is that a father, I might have mentioned it many months, if not years ago. This father came to me that he had an issue. This is years ago. I met with him face to face. I'll never forget that meeting. Unbelievable. And he was telling me about the struggles he has with his children and so on and so forth. And I listened very carefully to his story. And it was very easy to sniff between the lines. And as I heard his whole entire story, I can't remember the order, which one I did first. But I basically asked him, I first told him that there's two connections between a father and a child. One is to see how they're doing in school, how they're performing. And the other one is just looking straight into their eyes with a smile and having that bond that the child feels like he or she is loved. Spending time listening to your child, spending time playing with your child, spending one-on-one. Family is good, but it's nothing like one-on-one. Regardless how many children you have, you must have that one-on-one. And after I explained to him these two things, I asked him a very interesting question that he was caught off guard. I asked him, what was the relationship between you and your father? Was it more about your performance, or was there a love connection? This man could not answer the question, for on the spot, it was face to face, he bursted out crying, and he cried. And he basically said there was none of that, there was no love, there was nothing else. And I basically sat there quiet, and he was able to connect the dots that he didn't even realize he was repeating what his father did to him, which is rejection, which is not spending time, which is always excuses, which is having no bond, and just maybe school, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? It wasn't about his child. It was about the child in him that was repeating the same thing that his father did to him. No, we won't do it in this series. Why we repeat the same mistakes when we don't like them. I'm going to give you a hint because we discussed it many times in previous series. It's prefrontal cortex versus amygdala. Prefrontal cortex tells us what we should do. Amygdala just repeats the old programs. Amygdala always wins over prefrontal cortex unless you know how it works, which we discussed in different series. In that case, the child wasn't hanging out with the bad friends. There was something going on. There was no connection. The child didn't want to look at the father, and he didn't listen, and he didn't obey, and always rebelling. And the father came to me for advice, and the whole session turned out about his very lonely childhood, that he didn't have a childhood. Sadly, most of us repeat the exact same mistake because we are individuals that we think we have free choice, and we just repeat those horrific programs, and we don't even see it or know it unless there's awareness, therapy, and critical thinking. Until then, have yourself an awesome day. Thanks for listening. And always, please do remember, you are way greater than you think you are, regardless if it's summertime or fall, where the leaves turn yellow and all beautiful colors. It doesn't matter. You are you, and you are good.